take the most convenient path. And convenience is the new loyalty. And I think if you look at that convenient part, you need to bring that to a dealership. If the AI is context aware, it knows the entire inventory, has got the brochures, price lists of all the cars that you can order, has got the context, the instructions from the dealer. If people ask these kind of questions, that's the way we ideally would react. You'll get a very personal experience as a website visitor.
Hello and welcome to the Armchair Show. I'm your moderator, Tanisha, and I'm so thrilled to have you guys with us here today. I've got a great group of guests here with us today. So I guess if we kick off with a quick introduction about who you are, what you do and where you're from, I guess if we start with you first.
Thank you very much. My name is Nicholas Malcolm and I am 49 years old. And as a fun fact, I have 5 kids.
5?
5, that always raises the bar. And a company with plus 40 people and working.
So 45 kids then?
Yes. And working with more than 1,100 dealerships and helping them with doing marketing automations based on direct integrations with their dealer management systems. And we would be on a mission to make sure that we can become more efficient and ultimately, of course, make great customer experiences out there. So I think that's going to be my one-liner.
Hello, I'm Matthew Jones. I'm Chief Technology and Communications Officer at Greenhouse Group. So Greenhouse is one of the largest privately owned dealers in the UK. We represent 12 brands for our retail and fleet car, van and truck operations. But we also have refurbishment and remarketing businesses as well. And we've got sites all across the UK.
Hello, I'm Maarten Bekkers from AutoChat. I'm actually from the Dutch market. I'm born in Holland but live in Belgium. And I'm very happy that we're now also active with our company in the UK. And we deliver AI communication software to car dealers connected to also the internal systems of the dealer. And I don't have that many kids, but I do have 3. So I'm coming close to you. And I'm married with Marika. We have 3 kids. And so also at home, quite a busy life. That's me.
Nathan Tomlinson. I'm the MD of Devonshire Motors. We're a multi-award winning retailer based in Barnstaple, North Devon, representing Hyundai in sales. And we also have Mitsubishi and Honda in after sales. 0 kids, 1 cat.
Amazing. And today we're obviously talking about the new car plate change ready for March. So I guess to kick us off, I guess if anyone can give a sneak peek into how you're getting ready for the new plate change, in terms of what that preparation, what that planning looks like, and how, mid-February, what we're doing really to get ready for that. Matthew, if you'd like to start.
Yeah. So it's obviously no surprise that there's a new plate change. It comes around twice a year. It's always a good opportunity, I think, for dealers to get some marketing out there and get a campaign going. I think it's changed a little bit. It's, the economy doesn't really allow for the excitement, I think, that used to be there. Gone are the days of the sort of midnight handovers just to beat your neighbours to get the latest car. But it's still a really good opportunity, the way that we've seen it. It still means a lot to some people. And we've used it as more of an opportunity to better the journey for the customer. So when they do come in and buy that car, make them feel a bit special. Don't downplay the new reg plate. And take that opportunity to try and get a customer for life, really.
And Nathan, from your dealer perspective?
Yeah, from our point of view, really just doing what we've always done. Being very careful not to over-market the database in advance, and then we'll typically run a sales event mid-February that will try to time when the euphoria is at its highest, when customers are in market, when they're browsing, because if you're not careful, you can do that too soon, you can do it too late. So really it's just the same process for us. Take Matthew's point, absolutely things have changed, but the basics done well still deliver results.
Mm-hmm. And then from, I guess, both of you from a supplier perspective, is there anything particular that you are helping your customers and your clients do to prepare at the moment?
Yes, definitely. You can say, we always like to say that all touch points matters. And you had a nice word, customers for life. That is a big word. especially in a new economy where it's becoming increasingly difficult to get new sales, increasingly difficult to get new customers. So, of course, you can maybe work on the data to qualify when to get in the customers even better. I think that's an opportunity. So always an opportunity to show and be personal, even in a AI digital space. So that's where the dealerships are different. That we keep on being the balance between being a retailer where you meet people. So all touch point matters. Winning customers for life is not just like in 1 year. It's every day.
Do you agree?
No, true.
I will say as well that this year has been off to a much better start than I thought it would. We've had a really strong January, massive increase in leads coming into the year, lots of conversion as well. And so although there's a little bit of economic doom and gloom around, it's clear that people are still willing to spend the money, and the confidence does seem to be returning as far as I can tell.
Yeah, and in terms of, I asked to answer the same question. I think that, of course, what we deliver is a sort of AI employee. So you should actually treat the AI on your website as an employee, and also give them the context. Because, of course, people will ask questions to the website about the March registration and how it works, if you've got any special conditions. So actually, I think dealers should bear in mind that they don't only inform their real staff, but also inform the AI employee to give the same information and to not only answer a question, but also perhaps steer towards an event, to say we've got an event or we've got a VIP event, would you like to join? And that you get the data of this potential customer, and that way also generate more leads for the March registration.
Is there a way that you recommend dealers to do that best, like you say, to inform their AI as well as their team?
Yeah, so the AI works with a context. That means that you give instructions to the AI assistant, what they should do, what they should not do, or when somebody asks a specific question, how the AI should treat that question. So it's very important to not forget the AI assistant and to make sure that they also have the context. And when the AI is context aware, you'll have a great conversation. If you're not context aware, it's more difficult to answer a good, to give a good answer to a specific question. So that's what I would recommend. And what
Can I just chip in really quickly on that as well? The great thing about AI is you only have to tell it once.
Yes.
And with a human employee, we've all been in that scenario where we want them to respond differently, and you've coached them through it, you've shown them a diagram, you've painted a picture, and yet they still get it wrong. The great thing with AI is one adjustment, and that is on a path then to the correct terminology and response with no other tweaks.
If you look at March registrations, perhaps to learn from me, you have like a specific deals. Are the deals better at that time? People get better discounts, or how does it work?
Typically, in a quarter, the deals will be more or less the same, and then as you come down towards that registration period, there'll be some tweaks. And if you run a sales event, maybe you enhance those offers a little bit. But for the most part, we're talking about a 3-month period to set up conversion. When most people don't buy the car in March, they buy it during January and February, either in the mind or as a conversion, and then it's registered in March. So those offers typically run from January onwards.
And in terms of, I guess, opportunities at the moment, are there any real opportunities that you see for dealers to be able to make the most of March? Anything that you think that actually perhaps we're just not making the most of as an industry at the moment?
Keeping sort of relatively with the AI kind of theme, AI obviously allows you to personalize things a lot more for the user. So if you've got the data, if you know what that user is about, you can kind of personalize things a bit more. I think we can get better as an industry to try and use AI to personalize advertising and that user journey of what somebody goes through. And we mentioned before about not drowning people in too many marketing communications leading up to it. The journey for life is you've got to find that balance, which can be very difficult. But there's technology now to help you there. Go with the data, use the data wherever you can to try and to find that.
And it's not a quick win, but I'm also going to say you should never overlook the fact that you've always got enough customers in the first place. Unless you're a new business, renewals and retention is so important to generate future sales. It's something that you should be incubating year round and see the benefits of all the time. So it's we often find ourselves as retailers in a situation where we want to find a quick win for a certain month, but actually the lesson to learn is to do the basics right all the time. And you've got more than enough customers to look after your own needs and the business needs.
You've all at different points mentioned communication in this episode. So between now and March plate change, what do you think ideally that communication would look like with a consumer? How do we create the best possible journey?
Seen from our side, I think what we like to say is intelligent and connected data, meaning that there are a pool of customers within your DMS that are more relevant to contact than others. And if we're talking about quick wins, the better we can narrow down these customers. That would always be, and that is of course, so sometimes if we have this like random send out rather than a focused send out, because we know they have a 3-year car, we know how much they drive, we know the stuff that we need to know in order to optimize our way of communicating with the customer. That is what I call getting basics right, and where we can find quick wins, you know.
I totally agree with that. Signal to noise ratio. We always create a lot of noise, and we miss the fact that we've ignored the specific message. We've got enough customers to reach with that specific message, but we're really good at just creating all round noise, and that's never more apparent than March service is due, MOT is due, finance renewal, plate change, and if you're not careful, that's 4 different communications to the same person. When we were talking earlier about pulling out the data, understanding which customer is the low-hanging fruit, if you like, and making the use of that customer and that message, rather than just trying to blanket achieve sales event, finance renewal, you due a service, customers like, oh, and before you know it, they're ignoring the emails anyway and the contacts, and you keep ringing and 3 different people are ringing. It's a terrible period that we get awfully wrong if we're not careful. We're good at getting it wrong. We do that well.
So rather than hoping for this big event or hoping for this new car, the circumstances it should be in a flow.
Yeah. There shouldn't be the need for a silver bullet. It should be there all the time.
They should be there all the time because 5 years ago we served this man, and if we are right, we know when to contact him. And that is like, I think that the need for change, like, and where we can improve a lot.
Well, actually, I think we all know that. The difficulty is finding out. We were talking about the complexity of systems, and
exactly,
and even the OEM. They play a role in that too, because they'll do their own direct contact, and it overlaps with ours, or they'll doubt that we're doing ours, so they'll do more. There's a whole complex scenario to unravel there, to cut out all the unnecessary noise and just focus on that day one customer journey that goes around. Talk to them about the right thing at the right time, not everything all the time.
I think what has surprised us most is that we see a higher response rate on actually dealer communication than OEM communication.
Okay.
Because there is this personal experience. So if we are in a situation where the personalized together with the right data, then that is the opportunity. The strength of what we do every day is the opportunity. We are different because we are personal. And if you look at like the yin and yang of AI, it is like personalization versus AI. And we are, it's still difficult to buy a car. We still need to be navigated. And if I can find a trusted friend who can help me buy this, well, if it's a Hyundai or Kia, if you have the trust at the right time, because it feels kind of right to do it now. I think that's kind of still, like, if we look 5 years ahead, 10 years ahead, that's still how we're going to compete.
We've accumulated too much baggage over the years. That's the trouble. Too many different systems, too many bad practices, and we've a legacy of that kind of behaviour that going forward we need to shake that out. But it is difficult it's a fast-paced environment. It's very, very difficult to slow things down.
Exactly.
Sometimes you want to close down for a year and start again.
If only we had that luxury.
I'm definitely not advocating.
we often forget that there's been a huge inflow of new cars. So this like it's all natural that you just been too busy. So this simple thing, simple thing of like you change when there's a need for change. When someone hits you, we as people we like tend to react too slow. It's just natural. So I think now there's a stronger circumstance for we as a dealer need to. We have a brand. We have a great business, and we're doing a great job. And
do you know what we say though as well? There's the chance to start again with EV.
Yeah.
So we've got it incredibly wrong with ICE. We've created an independent market. We've made all this noise. It's all gone a bit messy, but we've started again with EV. Almost every EV that's been sold in the UK today is in some way retained by the retailer network. And that's a fabulous opportunity for us to do these things right from the start with a different offshoot of what we've already done quite badly. So I think that's quite an interesting proposition.
When I started up in the automotive business, I'm probably a rookie only 15 years ago. But what surprised me though, those is like, wow, all this complexity, you know? All these, like, I have worked with these 10 different brands. I have compliance here. Even in, like, say, in a Volkswagen group, they would have different systems for, like, a Skoda and for Audi. Like, I understand why you struggle with being proactive and figuring out what to do. Because you have this conflict of, like, compliance versus running a business, you know? And that's kind of a different balance, you know?
Yeah, and this is why the Chinese entrant scenario is a challenge for the legacy manufacturers, because they're pure. They come at it fresh. And we were saying earlier, it's sometimes a bit innocently too. But nonetheless, they start from a fresh position, and they haven't accumulated all this confusion and complexity that takes away from the purity, which is really just selling a car is quite a simple process. The customer, the car, the retention after sales, it's actually quite a simple thing, but we've complicated it so much over many
You mentioned
decades.
OEMs as well, and obviously they all demand their own system. You know, they can tell you down one way, which goes against another brand that you're representing. So again, it just adds to that.
But you know what, when you break it down, they're doing it for the right reasons. And I'm the same. If I step away from the business, I want a spreadsheet or a process or a report that tells me what everyone else has been doing. So we're all guilty of it. You can understand why it happens. But we do need to find a way, don't we?
Yeah. And you mentioned that you've seen more interactions from a dealer point of view than a manufacturer. You know, reaching out. That again is having the trust that the dealer still is there. We are still needed there. It is still personal. Buying a car, it's still a very personal thing. And it's actually one of the things that I'm a bit conflicted around on, like AI. Obviously, I'm a big fan of AI. It's in technology. You can't get away from it. But if you were interacting and I don't know if eventually we'll get to this point where currently you want to talk to a human because it's better. But obviously as AI gets better, it advances, you won't be able to tell too much. But I just wonder if, back to the sort of the big OEM versus the smaller dealer, if you'd rather still just be talking to that sales exec that's on the dealership floor rather than through web chat.
The thing I always try to keep in mind is the average age of our new car buyer is still 55 plus. And that's a generation that hasn't yet transitioned to the things that we're implementing in the business, but they will. So the generation that fully embraces AI and everything that tech does for us is not yet the new car buyer. They're starting to become the new car buyer, especially with EV. But one day that'll be our core business. Which sees us as an early adopter of a technology that's necessary and will be necessary going forward. And I think you're probably going to say this. But the other thing to remember is AI actually, even today in our dealership, is arguably better than most of our employees. We just fear letting it loose.
That's a good question for Martin, really, in terms of the data and what you see. Do you see a difference in the demographics and ages of people that are more inclined to have a conversation with AI rather than pick up the phone and speak to a sales exec?
Let's say that actually this morning we were talking about when we walked in that we had somebody on the phone. I think he was 80 years old and used the chat to mention that he had a problem and he was not satisfied with the employee at the dealership. So it was quite funny. But if I look at my even my parents or people who are searching for things, I see a difference in behavior, and you have that actually in all ages. So I do understand that indeed the younger generation. I'm now 43, so I'm raised with internet. It's your second nature, and perhaps my parents are not so tech savvy. They are 70. My father is 75, for example, but. Still, they're also very modern and working with ChatGPT. And when you see, when you have a birthday party and somebody needs to look something up, they used to go to Google. I now more often see people picking up their phone, opening the ChatGPT app and asking the question there. So people are getting used to language models. It's a very natural evolution, and I think also it's very logical. Like why was Uber so successful? It's just more easy. It's more convenient. If you're dialing a taxi, okay, we'll be right there in 20 minutes. You're always doubting, is this my taxi or is it someone else's? If somebody else gets in 20 minutes when a taxi appears, you think it's mine, and I'll call them again to be sure that I've got a taxi. So. Uber, you just order it. Okay, we found you a driver. It's that car with that number plate. You see it driving, it arrives. It's much more convenient. And that's the same with searches. If you look at Google search, you type in something, it will show you a bunch of pages where you might find the answer. You'll need to open the page, you'll need to search on that page to find your answer. ChatGPT will just give you the answer. And that's more convenient. So it's logical that people will take the most convenient path, and convenience is the new loyalty. And I think if you look at that convenient part, you need to bring that to a dealership. If the AI is context aware, it knows the entire inventory, has got the brochures, price lists of all the cars that you can order, has got the context, the instructions from the dealer. If people ask these kind of questions, that's the way we ideally would react. You'll get a very personal experience as a website visitor. And it's now website visitors. Next, it will be WhatsApp messages, that you will fully automated WhatsApp messages. And end of this year, I'm pretty sure that it will be voice, that you will be speaking to the AI. And I would recommend everybody who is interested in this subject to download, if you don't have it yet. I think probably most of us have the ChatGPT app. I've got a paying version. So I was driving from Belgium to this podcast this morning, and I've been speaking to the AI a lot. So you just put on the voice functionality, and you have a brainstorm. Like, I've got this idea. What do you think of it? And you can ask it questions where perhaps you would think, I'm not going to ask that to a human because I might come over silly. But I can ask it to the AI. I don't mind, and it will be empathetic. It will think together with me. It knows me because it remembers me as well. So the more context aware it is, it's very personal. So for me, the definition of personal contact is not that the person at the other side of the chat that's a person. No, it's that the customer asking a question gets a personal question to him as a person. It needs to be tailored to their needs and what they're looking for. And I've had an experience with a dealer group, actually the UK dealer group, who's got a manual chat. We were just trying it out. So you start chatting, ask a few questions. It took 20 minutes before an employee arrived to take the chat. Terrible. And then I think that the person on the other side is not an added value at all. Because that person who goes to a website where there's a context-aware AI, who knows the stock, but even the workshop planning, you can make a workshop appointment, knows the digital work orders. Somebody says, I forgot when I've got my appointment, my number plate is that. The AI will tell you, you've got your appointment then. At that hour, we've got a replacement car for you. It will be so convenient, not only for the dealer's customer, but also for the dealer.
Do you think there's a kind of barrier to adoption where people, because it's tech, people expect it to be either right or wrong, and they judge it on right or wrong? Because your point there was really interesting. Every retailer I've seen that uses a live chat app is handled by somebody that cannot deliver the end result either quickly or specifically. Yet AI does. However, for some reason, we fear that it might get something wrong. When actually, when you talk to a human, they're getting it wrong all the time. They're slow and they're getting it wrong all the time. But for some reason, it's human, so it's okay. They're a bit like me. I get it wrong occasionally. When it's tech, it's either got to be right or wrong, or it's, if it's wrong, it's terrible. We'll never use it.
I think there's been a few horror stories from the early adoption that,
That scare
people selling
people.
cars for $1
Yeah.
or something in America and
Yeah.
asking some silly things or brand, bashing the brand sort of thing. So I think there's probably an element of that as well.
Because I'm old enough to remember in our dealership when I first started, we had a telephone receptionist, so she answered every incoming call. And when we switched to an auto attendant, for a period of time we had criticism because people used to like to phone in, talk to a human about the family and recognition and all that kind of stuff. But it went away so quickly, and now you don't come across anything other than auto attendant in retail. So I see it as very much the same thing. People have that fear of changing to something because it's an unknown. But give it 5 minutes and it just normalizes. And it does a much better job.
Yeah.
A
No,
much
but
better job.
if you look at, so we have a lot of big dealer groups as a customer, and many of them, of most of them, have a customer contact center, and we very often visit those customer contact centers just to listen in to conversations, to see what they're doing, and see how can we improve the experience for the customer, how can we save hours, because time is money, and we help dealers save both, what we see is that actually I believe about 80% of the questions that come in are going to be a callback request because they can't answer the question. Terrible customer experience. And then you can say, but we want humans to do it. But actually AI could have helped. I think 80%
Because we like that low
should have
level.
an answer.
We all feel comfortable down there.
And the second problem with that is that you just can't afford it anymore. It's so expensive.
Yeah.
It's the building and the employees is the most expensive things that you have. So of course it's also very valuable to have a great employee. Absolutely. So it's super important. But look at the margins that the dealer is making. Not only on sales, it's lowering actually on sales, but it's definitely with electric cars. You'll need to service a lot more cars to have the same results. Normally, if you increase your volume, you'll also need to increase the team size. If you do that, bottom line, nothing will change. So I believe also a part of us, of people liking it or not, you'll need to be adaptable for change to survive. It's a Darwinish thing to say, but it is really how I look at it. The one who will be most adaptable for change is the one who will survive now as a car dealer. And because a few percent, change. You dive into the losses immediately.
I like to say, like we call it, like we had talked with our sales department, commercial department about how to use AI and together with marketing as well. And we were talking about this, about AI is an accelerator, but not a finisher, And there's something about here as well, like we should keep on having AI accelerators, but of course there will be touch points and ways where we can finish the job better. So be very curious about that, and not too focused on whether technology will that overrun the employees or not. But I think at the end of the day, if you are a customer, did I get I had some questions. Did I get them answered? Did I have a sense of availability? Did I have a sense of trust? Sometimes it's great tools. Sometimes it's great tools with a touch. But it's, I think that's what we need to keep on changing. But because I think I saw Jeff Bezos launch this kind of idea that we need to be concerned about the questions that remain in 10 years. He would say, customers are looking for cheap prices. Customers would like lots of availability, and customers will keep on want to having this nice shop where I can buy, and not regardless of technology. That's the same for us dealers. That we need to. They want personal service. Sometimes it's AI.
Yeah.
Like we started up with AI calling. And the good thing, and that's for, following up after the workshop, because that's mandatory for some brands, or following up after the sales visits. it's mandatory for some brands, it does the job better. But you know, that's kind of a admin job. No one's in the the dealership wants to own. So these are great examples of accelerating. And we have to, of course, be curious about how we can take away all the boring work and be really good at delivering the great customer experience that we should delivering every day.
If you look at what you say is right. If you look at like these online marketplaces that have tried to capture the market and who will take over from dealerships, nobody survived. And I've been part of Carnex.com in the past. We also tried, and it's also no longer there. Visit the website. You'll appear on the BCA website. So it's a little bit sad for those kind of concepts. But on the other hand, it is very good news for the dealers because the reason why is people like buying cars at dealers. So that's without a doubt the dealer business is a very important business and the preferred way for people to buy a car. But if you even look at the dealer, I always compare it with, for example, McDonald's. So when I went to McDonald's in the past, you have like 8 people where I could order. You need to wait in line until it's your turn, then you order it, you get some questions, but you're used to it, it's the way it is. Then there was one computer placed in the McDonald's, nobody used it. At a certain moment they actually placed 8 computers and there's now only one person where you can take the order. And when you're walking in, you actually prefer the computer because I can just relax, I can just do it the way I want, I don't have all these questions, I don't need to wait in line. It's more relaxed. And then just got my number, I'll wait for it. So I think even the new generation or the younger generation, you also see a difference there with calling. I actually like calling. Also when I'm in the car, I bother some people just to ask them how they are. And it kills my time a little bit also. And
it's like the opposite to AI. AI enhances productivity. Martin
Yeah. So, but for looking at my wife, for example, she hates calling. She doesn't like it. And so we're really different. But if you look at restaurants, it's the same. A restaurant, you needed to call them. You dial in when they are servicing customers. So you hear it's busy, it's difficult. Who calls the restaurant now? You just go to their website. You expect that you can make a reservation on the website. And if on the website it said that it's fully booked, we'll try another restaurant. So it's so convenient, and everybody does that. And I think that when you look at a dealership that way, what things can we do to have a self-service for customers? And they would even like it if you make it very convenient.
The McDonald's example is a really good example because when McDonald's was first founded, the concept of I'm going to order my food and it's going to be given to me in 60 seconds was so abnormal. People were a bit horrified and disgusted at the time that your food could possibly be ready because it needs to be cooked, it needs to be custom made, that's going to take time. And now that speed and that accessibility and ease is, there's so many fast food takeaway places that replicate the exact same model.
The only thing on the McDonald's sort of angle there is you haven't had to save up for the McDonald's. So if I was to save up, buy a car and I don't see anybody, nobody hands it over to me, I just get the keys and go.
Oh, of course.
You feel a bit like, well, I've just spent quite a lot of money there. And so I think that will always be a bit of a balance. I don't think that will always be in a dealership, but I still think there'll be a
we like to say blended approach, don't we? And it's from a customer perspective. They want humans when they want humans, and they don't need humans all the time, and that's fine. And then also from a retailer cost base perspective, we've got really specific skills within our business that we need to use at the right times, and the mundane stuff that can be done by tech and AI. And I think it's where it all fits in, and it takes a minute to figure that out for sure.
And then I guess the other thing is bringing the team along for the journey and getting that buy-in from the whole team. And I asked Matthew, how is that something you're navigating at the moment with a team as large as Greenhouse? How do you get that buy-in?
Yeah, I think the buy-in is just communication. It's not an easy thing to do, but it's something that obviously every business needs to always do better at. Being very open with the staff of what we're doing with sort of AI initiatives, tech, how that's going to help. Usually we find, from an automation point of view, we've gone in to try and help a department. Sometimes you get a bit of pushback. Sometimes you can't get out the door because they're chucking everything at you because they want all that mundane stuff taken off them. A lot of that then helps once you've helped one department, that can talk to another and just share through that. So it's just being completely clear and open about what initiatives you've got and why you're doing it.
I think something that's come up a couple of times that a few of you have said is about taking off the mundane. It's removing the admin. But no one's looking for AI to remove the fun parts of our jobs. We still want to do test drives with the customers, spend time with the customer. But the really simple questions, the follow-ups, the things with speed, the paperwork, areas like that is something, I guess, that AI can really support and allow us to do more of the good stuff.
And in most cases, it's natural if you just sit back and allow it to happen. We used to write service reminders out by hand and put them in the post and send a letter, and that's done automated now. But we don't fuss around it. We don't have conversations and debates around it. At some point, it changed, and then it normalised, and now it's in the past. And I think AI, we're just on the cusp of that happening.
Yeah, and taking the mundane, no one has one job anymore. Everyone is juggling so much, and once you take a step back and think about that, I think we discussed earlier about if you a scattergun approach, you're never really focusing on the one thing that maybe you're the best at. So that's where AI and automation comes in, just to try and take that back.
I think that the good way of looking at it is automate what can be automated, like repetitive tasks, because that makes the job more interesting for the people. For the remaining work will become more interesting for the staff to treat. It's the same with this customer contact center. The employees that I wanted to say example. So the customer contact center example. What we see is that many of them are having a conversation. Then afterwards they will need to. In one example, they have like a Word template with different templates. They need to copy paste that and then start replacing the number plate part and the name part. And it's incredible. When I look at that, I think, but AI could have listened in to this conversation, could have actually written the email for you already with all the data. And people will love it. And I mean, the customer contact center employee will also love it because this boring task of copy, pasting, filling in those things, if that's gone, it will make their life also better. So also mental health wise, I think it's also nicer for the people who remain in that job.
What advice would you give to dealers to avoid, I guess, bad use of AI? Something that we're seeing a lot of in the industry at the moment is lots of dealers using ChatGPT for vehicle descriptions, right? That's the obvious thing. Some dealers have done that very well. Some dealers have done that poorly, where you now see vehicle descriptions with clear Americanized spelling, talking about features and spec that used car doesn't have, only the newer models have. And I guess with your specialty, what advice do you give to dealers to tell the difference between good AI and AI that's actually perhaps not quite doing the
one
right
of the
job?
main points here has been like we've all the time had good people and not so good people, and of course the magnitude can maybe be faster with bad AI, but it's kind of the same issue, But it doesn't change the fact that we need to fully embrace AI. We are retail. We need to keep on figuring out ways to be more efficient. But our opportunity is, of course, the personalization. As a dealer, how can we keep on tweaking on being personal? Because that is what keep us winning every day, and balancing that. So I think from my side, I think the bad is, of course, we need to protect what we're doing and be compliant with what we're doing. But I don't know, we've had employees doing stuff that are not that good.
Very true.
In the past. Now we have to quality check our AI in the same way.
This was my point earlier. You, as a business owner, you somehow sit back and allow an employee to do something. The standards are completely random and everybody does their own thing and that's fine. And then you employ tech, and if it's not perfect, you criticize it. But going back to the original question, the thing with AI is it's a productivity enhancer. It's not that you should sit back and allow it to do something for you in most cases, but what it can do is turbocharge your own productivity. And that's, again, to your call center point. Don't generate a 4-paragraph email yourself, have something else do it in a nanosecond, but then run through it, change it, personalize it if you need to. The closer you can get AI to that end result that you would choose, the better, but don't just fire it out. So I think AI lifts the bar, it raises the standards, but it's not a solution that takes away from...
And think about it, we've always been checking the control of a contact center, always. We've always had to do some kind of quality checking. And back to my example with the AI caller, we had lots of complaints with the contact center, We were calling at random times and, it was maybe a demoted people that was calling. And now all of a sudden, like seen from a dealer side, now we call at 4:00. So if we have some kind of alert that we need to react, we know when it comes. So I think there's good ways and bad ways. Yes, of course we need to control it. We need to check it. But we need to control and check employees too.
We were talking about email the other day, weren't we? And the number of retail uses of email and the random nature of it and the way people are constructing their emails poorly, bad use of grammar or whatever it might be, can easily be standardized by AI as a starting point for a consistent approach across the business. And it's things like that I think are the attraction internally, aside from the agent concept.
Yeah.
I think
But if you... Oh, sorry.
just on the how do maybe dealers especially avoid, there's a lot of influx of AI. Companies with just .ai added to the end of it. My advice is just to clearly define what a successful project is. What's that final product before you go into it? What is your ROI? Have that defined before you go into it. And don't jump in too much with, I think maybe you can speak a bit about this, but dealers have been using large language models to populate their auto traders descriptions, but search engines don't like copied data. So you could quickly change your whole business model to just use large language models to populate everything. And then you'll see your website traffic go down, you'll see your inquiries go down, your conversions go down. So you've made efficiencies here, but you've absolutely impacted your bottom line completely negatively there.
Interesting. Yeah, good point.
If you also ask some advice, what are things that people need to prevent? I would say watch out with the free version of ChatGPT, because I see many people saying, "Oh, it's free. I've got this." Nothing is free. It doesn't exist. When it's free, it uses your data, and I see that sometimes dealers who actually use the free version, they start pasting in customer contact details, for example. Then you're feeding it to the AI, where actually in the license agreement you have stated that they can use your data. Very dangerous. Don't do that. So at least take a paying subscription of ChatGPT. Then you can do that, because then it's actually they won't train based on your data. So that's something I would advise. And indeed, it's quite difficult with this American spelling of English. And ChatGPT is an American company. I think I would still prefer it over DeepSeek, because that came out now. It was quite impressive what happened. But we've also read now about data privacy, that it's quite dangerous. This American spelling thing is quite difficult to tackle. But I think that if you now look at the voice functionality, for example, I'm from the Netherlands. I live in Belgium. We speak the same language, but it's a different accent. You see the AI becoming better and better at it. So when I actually start talking, because I live in Belgium, so it starts in the Belgian accent, and then I start talking, and it switches to the Dutch accent.
Wow.
Because it hears that I'm from the Netherlands. So it's actually really impressive. So I think that also with this American and British spelling, that it will solve itself as well. But for now, still, you'll need to watch out for it, because it's sensitive for British buyers if they see that kind of language.
And I think, keep on coming back to my point, just like on a personal basis, if you write an email that's AI driven, ChatGPT, whatever, it always have formulations where it's maybe not personal, So I think this opportunity with a call, with an email, our opportunity is to make it personal. or else we're just the same. So I think it's kind of it gives a great baseline. It gives what I call an accelerator, but we still in many instances need to be the finisher. Yeah.
But with that, I agree. Yeah. But you do see that dealers very often have templates, and every template is the same. So everybody receives the same templates. It's not personal at all. If you feed the AI with certain templates, each time it will be written a little bit different. So I think that's a difference. What I do think you need to watch out for is like a creepy AI, and that's I've been actually 2 weeks ago to the NADA, and it was quite difficult to get there. There was a snowstorm, and I think there haven't been snow for 130 years or something. So it was incredible that we went there. That much snow, huh?
Wow.
And so we rented cars to get to the NADA. I think 5,000 people were not able to get there. But anyhow, on this show, you saw how the American market is doing it, also with AI. And it's actually quite creepy because they send messages to customers like, oh, and how are your kids? And your kids' names are that and that. And how are they doing? Or how's your mother? And I think that's really creepy because also something could have happened to that family, or you don't know that family situation. So, yeah. I believe that we should watch out with that. You know, it can become too personal, even.
And we don't want to know.
No.
We know that companies have all our data, but you kind of don't want that shoved in your face by saying, "Oh, I know your kids' names and all this stuff."
No.
Yeah. If I don't know the other person of the dealer, it's creepy.
Yeah.
And there I would say watch out with how far you take it, and be professional.
Yeah, no, but it's kind of like you can have standard marketing or you can have personal marketing. And I think it would be in the same dilemma we'd have been talking about 5 years ago. And now we have some tools that can upgrade us even more. But still the tweak about, I know a bit about your history, what the car you had last time. I have some history to add to the email or to the contact.
It's guardrails. It's just putting the bumpers on. You can it's okay to discuss what the last car was, or it was an SUV, or was it compact. But keep the personal stuff.
And I think that'll normalise over time. And the other thing is that customers will come to understand and expect automation. A bit like the analogy with the phone system. They'll in certain forms of contact, customers will know and expect that to be automated. They'll also expect it to be quite good, but they won't criticise it for being automated because it'll just become normal.
To end the episodes, I really like to do a quick fire around the table. So I think for this one, it would be nice to do a very quick fire. What are your 3 recommendations for any dealers that are nervous about using AI now? Perhaps some dealers that haven't really explored, aren't using any AI in the business at the moment. What are the top 3 things that you kind of recommend that they do first?
If you're nervous, if you have very boring, repetitive tasks, maybe that overcomes the nervousness. so like you have like a stronger pain for like saying, okay, I would really like this to be automated. That's step 1. And then of course step 2, it would like test it on very small scale. Let's say you're running 25 dealership rooftops. Well, you don't want to roll it out on everything. Do it in small testing batches. That's always what we do. Keep on testing and see how it works. Be upfront with that. It is, in our case, it was a robot calling. Be upfront that we are working with this. We're testing with this, please. So I think that don't hide it. That's kind of what we found out. Because for example, with the AI caller, we found out our customers, they start talking to it and didn't know they were talking to a robot. So be upfront with it. Start small, test.
Yep. So start with repetitive tasks, start small, be upfront with customers.
Yes. So you the good thing with the repetitive, you can get this feeling of success. Yeah.
I'd say engage your employees, your heads of business, especially your IT team, especially where you can. I know IT, we're not the funnest people sometimes to talk to, but when it comes to cybersecurity, which we haven't really talked about with AI, it's important that you get the right people in the room to discuss this stuff. Don't be afraid of failure. Try and fail cheap if you can, and fail fast. But it will always, to try and find the right tool for the right solution, you just got to go through some pain sometimes to be able to get there. And I think my final point is just, if you don't start engaging with AI, you do run the risk of being left behind. So there's a lot of hype and things will change very quickly. You mentioned DeepSeek, just sort of came out of nowhere. It will change quickly, but now's the time to just start trying some new tools. And you can try small. You don't have to go big.
I would say, to name 3 things. Step 1, I would say, use this ChatGPT app. And if you're using the free version, fine, then watch out with sensitive data, as I've said before, but get familiar with this new technology and try it out. Try the voice functionality when you're in the car and you've got the car kit on or CarPlay on. Just start talking to it and you'll be surprised, and it will remember you. If you say some things, it will also have a memory, so the next time it will have remembered some things about you. Get familiar with it, because that is a very important first step. Second, I would say, do some investigation towards what are the pain points your customers are experiencing, and ask your customers, because we're very often talking about internal things and very little talking to the customer, actually. Because and I would actually really recommend, talk to your customers. What are their pain points? What do they think of the contact with you? What do they think of the process of booking an appointment, for example? But also the investigation. A big problem what we see is non-billable hours. So the amount of non-billable hours at the dealer is increasing, and it's really a big problem. Look at those non-billable hours and see what are those hours. Can you categorize them and take some of these things away? If you get familiar with the AI, would the AI be able to help you with reducing the non-billable hours and improving the customer experience based on their feedback? And then the third advice is, of course, contact AutoChat if you need any help.
I like it. It's a good one.
I think Martin's point was a big one for me. Use it yourself and don't limit it to text. So there's generative AI that produces music, videos, imagery. So I think before you can lead a business through change, you need to embrace it yourself. So my number 1 tip would be to get into AI yourself personally and find out what it can do for you. And the second one really is just, you've got to ask yourself, is tomorrow going to be more digital than today? The answer is yes. So you have to embrace AI. It might not work for you tomorrow. It might not be right today. But undoubtedly, your business in the future is going to need to be in some way embedded in AI. So you just got to jump in.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Armchair Marketing.